It's very hard for people to realize that we could be the bad guys, that our government is bad. And that gives a lot of advantage to the government and through the media pushing their noble lie that we are special people, we're exceptional, we bring democracy to everyone, we only care and want to do good in the world. That's only those bad guys, those Russians, those Iranians. And when the Soviet Union collapsed, Wall Street rushed in and they saw an incredible country. The resources of Russia are beyond any other country. The territory is larger, gold, gas, oil, all kinds of other minerals there. This is a prize. And they went in there and they had they acid stripped a formerly state-controlled and state-owned economy. And they enriched themselves unbelievably. In the process, created this oligarchy class and impoverished the Russian people. I went to Moscow in 1995 under Yeltsin. I couldn't believe what I saw. Wild West. Hundreds of people living in front of the train stations, burning fires, trying to survive outside. Cops taking bribes right in front of me on the cab that I was in from the cab driver. They didn't care. Two guys saw my camera and they would come running after me. I had to ditch them in the Moscow metro. Wild scenes. Exactly 20 years later, that was October 95. In October 2015, I went back again to Moscow. It was a complete coincidence, exactly 10 years later. And I'd left from Berlin, and I thought I was still in Western Europe. Clean, orderly. Why? What happened? This was not the crazy country. Vladimir Putin, who we don't have any really right to say whether he should rule this country or not. That's up to the Russian people. He restored the sovereignty of this country, the dignity of Russia. And that pissed off a lot of people in Wall Street and Washington. His 2006 Munich Security Conference speech, listen to that. He says there, you were supposed to not expand NATO, and now you're expanding NATO. You're just playing us for fools. We're not going to take it anymore. And guess what? From 2006 to 2022, 16 years, he did take it, and he didn't take it anymore. And that's what led us to this invasion. The overthrow of Yanukovych, and then the launching of a civil war against Russian speakers in the east of Ukraine who were defending democracy. They had voted for Yanukovych. And it was overthrown in a coup. They called it a revolution. Tell me one revolution where a democratic elected government was overthrown. Revolutions are over kings, dictators. This was a coup that the U.S. organized. Why? Because Yanukovych decided he was going to take a Russian government economic package and not the EU one. So they overthrew him. And then a civil war was launched. Thousands of people were killed over 8 years in Donbass. That was launched with U.S. help, and they were training. The NATO was training the Ukrainian forces, arming them. It was a de facto NATO state already. And we then learned from Angela Merkel after she left office, the German chancellor, that they purposely did not implement a deal that the Russians worked very hard with the Germans and the French to sign, which was the Minsk Accords. The UN Security Council endorsed it unanimously. The U.S. voted for it. This was supposed to allow eastern Ukraine to remain inside Ukraine, but have autonomy. And Merkel admitted that they never took that seriously for a minute. They used the time. They were buying time to arm Ukraine. Then in 2021, of course, in December, the Russians offered a treaty to NATO and a treaty to the United States to create a new security architecture in Europe. They couldn't put up with this anymore. They tried that in 2008. It failed. They repeatedly tried this. And now, after that failure, Putin said, if you don't take these deals or negotiate these deals, we will take military technical measures. What does that mean? The U.S. wanted this invasion. Biden needed it. He said so in Poland. The aim here is to overthrow Putin. Lloyd Austin said it's to weaken Russia. They needed this to do this through an economic war, an information war, and a ground proxy war. They're losing all three. Only people in the United States and Western Europe believe any of the crap about Ukraine. Sorry. And why? Because the history is not there. It's being excised. It's being taken out. And the Russian point of view is being removed. They are defanging journalism on purpose because we're meddling with the state narrative, the noble lie. Speaking of which, I invited Howard Zinn, the great American historian, late now great historian, to the UN to address UN correspondence. And I asked him then, what is the American noble lie? Without any hesitation, he said, democracy. That's the lie.